Whoo, this show gets deep.
NERDSoul.
Late Ill Kid at OneYoungsta holding it down, bringing that StreetGeek and NERDSoul. What is up, my people, today? Oh yeah, coming with another wonderful episode of On Screen. We got hip hop geek putting it together for a show that has just continued to be hard hitting when it comes to character moments, and that show, of course, is Titans. And this episode really kind of centers around Hawk from Hawk and Dove. Of course, Dove, last time we saw her, she got a little hurt up. She got thrown off a building. I'm surprised she's still alive, but we're gonna let that slide. And we got a little bit of Rachel as well, but this is mostly about Hawk. So I'm gonna just pretty much talk about him. We're gonna go about his younger life and then his older life. But first, let's get into when we meet him, how we see him, so triumphant, on the field. Even as a youth, he was just, so powerful, so strong, very knowledgeable about the game of football. I'm sure he loved to play. You can see how good he is, how people gravitated towards him because he was an athlete. And this happens a lot in schools. You'll see, when someone is really good at a certain sport, people just gravitate to him. And you see the kind of kid he is when behind the scenes we find out that his coach is abusing him. And not only abusing him, but trying to abuse his brother, Donnie. We see how he quickly switches from kind of like the happy-go-lucky star athlete kid to someone who is very, very serious about protecting his little brother, saving his little brother, getting him out the way. And I think this episode did a very good job of showing how quick situations can change when it comes to people that are abusing children. Because straight up, when you, on the surface, the coach comes in, has Donnie like, hey, I had a good game, everything was cool. Donnie wants to see the weight room. I'm gonna show him around. And even you watching, you're like, okay, this is weird, but whatever. Until you see the response from Hank, and you're like, oh. And I think this episode is a great way to open up and unpack. And of course, this show is not going to be long enough to do that. But on Lounging, we have talked about this stuff before as far as abuse for, adults, children especially. If this is going on, please make sure you can talk to someone, tell someone. If it's a friend, get that out, because what's going to happen is when it comes to abusers, whether it's children or not, one isn't enough. It's not just going to be Hank. It's going to be Hank and Donnie, and then there's going to be some other kid, and there was kids before Hank, and there's so he's going to continue this and going. And of course, we see later on he continues it as an older man. So seeing how this was placed and how secretive he moved, he being the coach, is just scary, because this is how many situations go down. And of course, threatening kids. And when you're that little, you don't know. You're just like, yo, I don't want my mom to get in trouble. And preying on certain kids, knowing that they'll be scared of certain type of consequences, is how these guys move. And I am so glad to see what happened at the end of the episode, because guys like this definitely need to go. Well, men and women that are like this need to go down, because not only do they break the spirit of a human being, but they also tear apart the spirits of those around them. Because of course, Hank has, as he grew up, continued to just demolish relationships all around him. But we'll throw that to the side, because of course, this show could be completely about that. Another good thing that this touches on is his college life. So we see, as a youth, and then as in college, he's still doing his thing, but he's getting hurt. He's having concussions, and his body is being banged up, because football is not a soft and dainty sport. So and you have Donnie, who is still kind of there, being that nurturing brother, being that that kind of protector, someone who's always looking out for him. And I love that relationship, because you see even more now. When you were young, you just saw kind of Donnie brought in, but here they really start to build Donnie. And in a episode that's pretty short, they do a great job of building Hank and his brother and their love for each other, and also where they break and where they grind gears with each other, when it comes about like Donnie trying to protect him because of the whole thing with the doctor and the concussion, and he needs to take rest. And then also you see them come together when they're fighting in the library and just completely wrecking shop. But then you see Hank in a very different situation with, I believe, the dean of the college, and then Donnie stepping up and protecting his brother, being like, look, we don't need you. My brother has sacrificed I love this relationship with these brothers, and showing how they can, have their differences, have their parts that kill each other over, like, I can't stand you, but still have that love and that family and that centered togetherness to be able to protect each other. And that is great about this episode. And I love how not only does Donnie stick up for Hank, but Hank sticks up for Donnie, and they trade off, and you see it makes sense. It definitely shows the kind of the age that some of us are in, where, you have a half brother, we got the same mom, two different dads, and we were, we're definitely different, but we were raised together and we are brothers. It kind of reminds me of Money Train a little bit, but straight up on the real, this episode does a great job of just revealing their family unit and how they have stuck together, regardless of the father stuff or regardless of their mother being passed, that they stuck together and maintained their family relationship. And that makes this episode extremely dope. And I mean, of course, we kind of let go of the Starfire stuff for a second, but this is something that I would definitely say is a necessary episode, and very deep and very engaging. Now, we got some stuff in his order I'd like to get to in just a moment, but first, KURO Brand is going to help us pay them bills. Yeah, check the link below. Hat, shirts, hoodies, all that jazz. And once you find something you like, of course, cop it. So, we got his college days, he's in his youth days. But after college, you see two brothers just trying to figure out what they want to do. And you see Donnie knowing what his brother needs as far as the rage inside of him, because he hasn't let go of the coach thing. Knowing that he has to focus that energy, focus it at something that he can, in a way that he can do good. And Donnie is actually the catalyst for Hawk and Dove. Wow, I didn't know, because see, I'm not a huge Hawk and Dove fan, so I don't know how it is in the comic books. I don't know if his brother, if this is something that's added for the adaptation or something that's from the comics. But I really enjoy this. It shows that one brother's, selflessness or love for another is so strong that he's like, look, I know what you need to stay sane. So let me help you find a way to work through this and also do something positive. And that is just great, man. So the way they handle their brothership, their brotherhood relationship is amazing. And also how they handle abuse is impressive and amazing, because when we get to Dove, well, the new Dove, we find out that her, I believe, stepfather is very, very abusive. Abuses her mother, abuses her sister, and we see that this term, this kind of cloud and atmosphere of abuse has kind of fallen over many characters in this show. And it comes in many different forms and shades and colors, but it's always represented in a real way that we can relate to. For instance, we have an amazing juxtaposition of, like afternoon tea or whatever, where there's like this high tea, and it's so, ritzy, and it's money and all this stuff, and it's kind of glitzy and glamoury. But deep under it, we're talking about being hit, being abused, my daughter being hit and abused, and me coming back to it and can't leave and wanting to return. And those things are just very, very heartbreaking where you know what these people have gone through to get to this point. And you know, everyone has their story, and I like them dealing with the people in this show. You're giving them meaning, you're giving them backstory, you're giving them their baggage, because we all have it. And this is just another great way to fill out the world. You know, just like we fill it out with characters and heroes, but we're also filling it out with the emotions of these characters. And it's amazing. Now, of course, we have the wreck. And the wreck takes out, you know, the mother and the brother, and they're kind of stuck together. And I like how in this episode you see two people, not on purpose, not in a malicious way, but needing each other, using each other to heal. And throughout the healing process, you see them at the, you know, group 6-step programs or whatever, and meetings, but then they kind of pair off and kind of get to know each other as we get to know their relationship. And this is just another great point of taking an episode that seems too short to handle something like this, but giving us enough time to really enjoy and experience what they've been through, to be able to show each other what Donnie meant to Hank, or what, you know, what Dove's mother meant to her, and just so much wrapped up in this episode with their emotions. And it's just a fire job that the writers did with this, man. This episode is straight flames. Now, of course, at the end, you know, we see the closet opens, we find the mask, and, you know, it's like, oh, you're a hawk and you've been running around and doing stuff. But to see her almost pick up Donnie's mantle and the way she wants to protect or care for Hank, you see her go out and kind of approach the coach, but, you know, and open up the situation, but then Hank coming in to then protect her by saying, leave and you were never here. So you have this relationship come full circle, where he lost Donnie and then gained Donnie in spirit, you know. And man, wow, this joint really hit home for me when it comes to the way people need to heal, the cloud of abuse. This episode, man, is straight flames. Now, you know, it doesn't have a whole bunch of fireworks in it, you know, but this episode is that type of meaty, deep episode that I think a lot of people need in their shows when it comes to heroes, when you're able to step back from heroism for a second and deal with the man or the woman behind the mask. So, holla at me. I'm gonna holla at you down in them comments. Let's talk Titans. It's a dope show, man. It's a dope show. You know, if you have been hanging with me since episode one, and episode 9, 8, 9, whatever we're on now, night and day, and in a very good way. So before I bounce, I'm going to tell you guys to hit up ThatNERDSoul.com. That's right. Check me out right there. All my videos from the oldest, newest, latest, greatest, and all that. Then hit up shop.ThatNERDSoul.com and pick yourself up a t-shirt player. And don't forget to get one for them playettes. Then come back here, like, comment, subscribe, and share that NERDSoul. That's right. There's no better way that I can show people that you like what you are watching. So, LA, what up? VA, what up? RVA, you got my heart. And please be good to yourselves. Please be good to each other. And remember, don't you ever, ever, ever abuse a child, because people will be coming for you. Peace.